Hey everyone, and welcome to your C++ example on functions. So, you can see I have Visual Studio pulled up here and our Hello World program ready to go. What I'd like to do is I'd like to create like a very basic calculator. And so I think I want our calculator to be able to add, subtract, and multiply. Only those three functions. And so I'm going to create functions for add, subtract, and multiply. And I only want to be able to add, subtract, and multiply two numbers, let's say. So I'm going to use functions to do this. So let's begin by greeting our user. And to do that, we're going to bring in the standard library namespace. And so we can get rid of this prefix. And we can, instead of saying hello world, we can say something like, welcome to a basic calculator. And we'll follow that with an end line. And then we'll say, please enter the operation you would like to perform. And in parentheses, we'll say, we'll say add, subtract, or multiply. And we'll follow that with an end line as well. Okay, awesome. Let's run it real quick just to see. We'll use our G++ compiler just to make sure this looks how we want it to look. Say welcome to basic calculator. Please enter the operation. Okay. Operation. You would like to perform add, subtract, multiply. Perfect. So now we're going to bring in, actually first we need to create our variable, create a string, and we will call this operation. I'm saying operator. And I'm going to give it the initial value of nothing. And we're going to do a cin and bring in our operation. I really want to say operator for some reason. So we will take an input and put it into our string variable here. And that'll be the operation that they want to perform. And then we'll use an if statement, and we'll say if operation is equal to, and we'll say add. Then over here we will put our call the addition method. If that's not true, so else if operation is equal to, if the operation they requested is subtraction, then we will call the subtraction method here. And then we'll do another else if. Actually, let's give this its own line. And we'll say that operation, they've requested the string mult. Then we will call our multiplication method. And then we'll do our error handling here, error handling. We'll just have an else block here that we will print out, we don't perform that operation. Okay, so awesome. Let's start creating our methods here. So what we're going to need to do each time is, well, actually, before we create our functions, sorry, I think I've been calling them methods. I meant to say functions. We're also going to have to ask the user to enter in some numbers. So we can say, please enter we'll say just call it a left hand left-hand number. And this is going to be when we create our arithmetic functions, they're going to take a left and a right, and then that, they're going to either add the left to the right or subtract the left from the right or multiply the left and the right. So we'll take in a left-hand number, and this will only be integers. We'll call it left number is equal to 0, and then we will see in a left number, and then we'll say, I'm going to group these two things together here. I'm actually going to group this together just for readability. All right, then I'm going to print out, please enter the right-hand number. And I'm going to follow it with an end line. Bring in a right-hand number. It's going to be an integer. We're also going to set that to 0. Right number. Perfect. Okay, so now we have everything we need to call our functions. So let's just create our functions. And as we know in C++, they have to be above the main function. And so each one is going to return an integer. And we will call our first one addition. And it's going to take in an integer that we'll call left, an integer that we'll call right. And it will return left plus right. Awesome. So it's that simple. And now we're going to create two more. We're going to create another one called subtraction. And if any of this syntax looks unfamiliar to you, look at the previous video, and you can see how all this works in that video. We're going to return left minus right. And finally, let's create another one called multiplication. And it's going to be the same here. And we'll return left multiplied by the left times right. Awesome. So we have our functions here. We have our main function down here where we say, we're going to ask the user, hey, welcome to Basic Calculator. Please enter the operation you'd like to perform, addition, subtraction, multiplication. And then they enter in the operation here. Then they enter in their left number and their right number here. And we go through and we say, hey, if they entered an add, then let's create a variable called answer, and we'll call addition here. Addition. And we're going to put in left number. And we're going to pass in right number as the parameters, right? So when this function gets called, we have our left number here that we pass in as the left number, right number as the right number, and call addition. So once those are passed in, we will just add them together. And we're going to store our answer in this answer variable. And then let's print out your answer is, and then answer, end line. Awesome. And so what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to copy this, and it's going to be the same in each one of these, except the thing that'll be different is we're going to call a different method each time. So we've added our subtraction function call to our sub else if block here. And we're going to do a final one. So we're going to do another copy and paste job here. And we're going to call multiplication here. And the reason that we're printing this same answer out here and not printing it out at the end after the else is because we don't know that they're going to actually give us the right operation. So if we don't have the right operation and we leave this else block, if we had put this outside of the else block to reduce this code duplication, it would always run. So that's why I'm putting it in the else if here. So we have our code all set up. This all looks good. What I want to do is just give them a final thank you. And we can say, thank you for using this basic calculator. We'll do 3 exclamation points. A little spice. Okay, so let's clear the terminal and let's use our G++ compiler to see if we made any errors here. Okay, looks like we didn't make any syntax errors. Let's run our executable. Welcome to Basic Calculator. Please enter the operation you'd like to perform. I'm going to say I want to use the subtraction operation. It says, please enter a left-hand number. Let's say we'll subtract 3, and then we'll say, please enter a right-hand number, and it'll be from 8, so we should get 5. We get negative 5. Right, yeah, so it's actually subtracting 8 from 3, or sorry, yeah, 8 from 3. So we're getting negative 5. I've put those in backwards. But it works. So thank you for using this basic calculator. Let's run it again. And now let's use the addition operation. We'll say 5 and 3. Your answer is 8. Thank you for using the calculator. Awesome. And let's run it. We're going to run it 2 more times. We'll put in mult for multiplication. We'll say 4 and 9 should be 36, and it is. Thank you for using basic calculator. And our final case here, which is, run the executable, which is going to be, we'll say, hey, let's use division. And then we'll enter a left-hand number, 5, 25. We don't perform that operation. Thank you for using basic calculator. So I forgot an end line at this guy, but I'll add it now just for posterity's sake here. But there you have it. So this is how you would create how you would use, functions in this basic calculator example. We have our basic functions here. They're all just kind of broken out arithmetic operators, really, operations. And down here, we just greet our user and do our normal stuff. We take in, the operation that they requested, and we go through our if statements, else if, and all that stuff like we've talked about before. And then we call our functions. All of our functions return an integer, and we store that integer in answer because, this function returns a value, and that value gets stored in this variable, and then we print that value out here using our cout operation. So this is a very basic example of how to make a basic calculator. I hope you guys understand a little bit more about functions. Thank you.